Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Pulse here on the Joy News channel. Coming up today, it's been a day since Vice President Dr. Bawumia, and a day in which he is receiving all the attention both on social media and traditional media following yesterday's speech, which outlined his vision for the country if he ever becomes president from next year. This afternoon, we'll try to understand this vision better after the speech was met with criticism. Now, NDC flag bearer John Mahama has meanwhile jabbed the vice president, alleging Dr. Bawumia is attempting to exonerate himself from what he calls, quote, economic mess. We're also in Parliament, where minority MPs have been tearing into Dr. Bawumia's speech, describing it as a dishonest attempt to whitewash himself from the mess of the current government. Now, also coming up, national service, all the issues about Dr. Bawumia, saying that he will make national service something that is not compulsory. You can decide to do it or not. So that's voluntary, right? These and more coming up next year on Pulse. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace. It's always a pleasure to be with you. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities, Dignilu, affordable, safe sanitation for all. This show is live on DSTV channel 421 and on GoTV channel 125. Also around the world on myjoyonline.com. Feel free to follow us on Facebook and YouTube on the Joy News channel. Stay on. We'll be back with the details. Now let's start off from that speech delivered by the Vice President. Our Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, has dominated the news today, and for obvious reasons. Reactions to his vision for Ghana, as shared at a lecture at the UPSA, has received varied reactions. Today we get to hear him in detail, plus analysis of everything he said about making your life better. In studio with us will be an economic advisor at the office of the Vice President, Kabiru Mahama, PhD, or Dr. Kabiru Mahama. He'll be here to help us navigate the whole story around what the Vice President is promising you and I. We'll also have a Deputy General Secretary of the NDC joining us via Zoom to share more in that. Now, in case you missed, we have all the highlights for you. Let's share with you what the Vice President said he will do if he is voted. He says, quote, as a subcommittee, i.e. EMT to cabinet, we do not have any decision-making powers, but I am very proud of the quality of advice we have been providing over the years to cabinet. He again says, as vice president, I am like a driver's mate. If you make me president, I will be in the driver's seat to deliver my own vision for the vehicle that I will be driving. Now, let's look at tax measures, the government's commitment to IMF versus Dr. Bawumia's proposal. Now, if you look at the proposed tax reforms for 2024, it includes revision and expansion of taxes on gambling revenues. If you look at what Dr. Bawumia is promising in his new tax system, he says, I will eliminate betting tax. Okay. Now, in 2024 this year, we know that government intends to remove selected VAT exemptions, including 15% VAT on electricity. Now, Dr. Bawumia is promising to eliminate VAT on electricity. That is on condition that it still remains on the books. Now, for 2024, government says they are introducing the emission tax and the plastic and packaging tax. Dr. Bawumia says, I do not agree with that. When I come in as president, driving my own vision, I will eliminate the emissions tax. Now, he said a lot. Let's share with you more of the things that he's been, sharing with us. Now, he again says, I will abolish e-levy. Now, take cognizance of this. Since the e-levy was brought, the vice president has not uttered a word on it. This is the first time he's speaking, and he says, I will abolish it if I am ever voted as president of the country. Now, the vice president is also promising to eliminate VAT on exploration services. This is confirming the news or the proposal by the Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abujinapo that, well, if you put VAT on exploration activities, it sort of stifles the companies from doing that, and so it doesn't encourage more of companies to do that. So let's do it. He says, I'll do it when I come to power. Now he says there will be no more import duty on solar panels, so that we can have a lot of people getting solar panels for their home, and then the grid can at least have some relaxation there. Now he says, I'll bring tax incentives that will be provided for film producers and musicians. Again, he says there will be a flat tax of a percentage of income for individuals and SMEs with appropriate exemption threshold set to protect the poor. So that's what the Vice President is promising. Now he again says a tax amnesty up to a certain year to individuals and businesses for failure to file taxes in previous years. So if you have not filed your tax in some years, he says, if I'm president, I'll give you that amnesty so that we can all begin from a fresh slate. That's what he said. Now, again, there will be no manual or paper filing of taxes from 2025. Everything is digital. Now, he says any audit by GRA would be done electronically and facelessly by GRA. So those currently, as we have people in supermarkets and stores, it will not be the case. Electronic or digital means will be used. He said there will be no entity that will be audited more than once in 5 years unless anomalies are detected. And we'll be hearing from Guta on some of these pronouncements by the Vice President. Now, this is a quote from him. He says, I would have no more than 50 ministers and deputy ministers. This has been one of the issues that we've been discussing for quite a long time, about the size of government, especially the government that he has been a part of. The Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo Bawumia government has had quite a sizable one, and he is promising that if you vote for me to be in the driver's seat, I am going to run the government with not more than 50 ministers and deputy ministers. Well, that's what he says. Again, he says national service, like I said earlier, will no longer be mandatory, so you can choose to do it or not. Now, starting an individualized credit scoring this year for easier access to credit at lower interest rate. So there he said, well, he also says that we're going to amend Articles 87 of the 1992 Constitution and the NDPC Act 479 to mandate the alignment of political manifestos to agreed broad contours in specific sectors. Well, a lot of people have spoken about this, especially when the 40-year development plan came up. People were talking about how we need to get political will for it, for political parties to then tie in their manifestos into that plan. Let's see how that will be done. But it hasn't been done yet. But he says that they will amend Article 87 of the 1992 Constitution to allow that to happen. First, though, here are some of the statements from the Vice President during that lecture at the UPSA yesterday.
So far, the Bank of Ghana has made a lot of progress in this direction by putting in place a lot of the systems and infrastructure required. These include mobile money interoperability, merchant interoperability, the universal QR code system, GH-Link, debit cards, eSwitch, and Ghana Pay. We have put in place the necessary infrastructure for Ghana to go cashless. Recently, the Bank of Ghana has completed a pilot of a digital version of the Ghana cedi in Seshwiwioso. This is known as the Central Bank Digital Currency, or the e-cedi. The e-cedi is designed to work online and offline, and will be launched by the Bank of Ghana in due course. In my humble opinion, the e-cedi with appropriate privacy protections will be the ultimate weapon in our fight against corruption, because it will provide transparency, reduce the risk of fraud, robbery, tax avoidance, and money laundering, since it will be easy to track the movement of money and identify suspicious activity. The e-cedi will quicken the pace of Ghana's move towards a cashless or near cashless society. Ladies and gentlemen, to move towards a cashless economy, however, we have to encourage the population to use electronic channels of payment. To accomplish this, under my administration, there will be no taxes on digital payments. The e-levy will therefore be abolished. To start the new tax system on a clean slate, my government will provide a tax amnesty, that is a complete exemption from payment of taxes for a specified period and waiving the interest and penalties up to a certain year to individuals and businesses for failures to file taxes in previous years, so that everybody will start afresh. Tax digitalization will be implemented across all aspects of tax administration. Everyone will be required to file a very simple tax return electronically through their mobile phone or computer. There will be no manual or paper filing of taxes under my administration. My government will reduce the fiscal burden on government by leveraging the private sector. Under the two-term administration of my boss, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's government, we have put in place many social safety nets like free SHS, free TVET, and so on. With all these social safety nets in place, my government will now focus on jobs and wealth creation by the private sector for all Ghanaians.
Now, on the street, many are unsure how the Vice President will address the current economic challenges. Listen.
I think scrapping up the taxes, I don't know where he's starting from and where he's coming from, but he was part of this government who actually sat in that economical meeting and then brought all these taxes. So which time is now going to say that he's not part of it and he's going to scrap it off? I don't see it. I think it's a 419 gimmick that he's trying to bring about on this our country just to win votes.
Where there is no paying tax, I don't think that country will move. Tax is necessary because of the help us now most of our need in the country. Okay, but what I will say about the high tax, they should reduce it and make it moderate for us, but not to pay tax is not possible.
I want to believe that he's going to stick to what he's saying, but we've had evidences that politicians, they speak, and when they come into office, they do different things. So if we can hold him to what he's saying, because the tax burden to me is too much. It's too much on the ordinary Ghanaians. So there should be a way to hold politicians accountable on the promises that they made before they come into office. He can do it if he really mean to help Ghanaians, because the situation currently is not the best. He has to do it. He can do it, and I believe that when he's given the power, he can do it. The national service, I disagree, because we are supposed to, the nation invests in our youth through education. So when you finish school, you are supposed to contribute somehow towards the development of the country through the national service scheme. So I don't agree with him. I think the national service scheme should be there. It should be made compulsory for all those whom the country supports in terms of the education.
I think it's going to be a really bad idea, because maybe through that it's going to be my job opportunity, maybe doing my national service there, and that is going to be my opportunity of working in that company. It's cancelled, but not making it compulsory, others are not going to take it serious. Yeah, that is the issue, because the youth of today, normally when you don't force them to do something or push them to do something, they just do it anyhow and just let it go. So it not being compulsory, that is not going to help the youth of today. So I'm going to say, he should rephrase that statement and make it right, because even when it's even compulsory, they are not even doing it, and now it's not compulsory. So I think it's not going to work for we the youth coming now at all. Definitely, I'll agree with that if you can deduce some of the taxes. In fact, like about 30% or 40%, that will be okay, because things are now rising. Double, like the price are just doubling up. You can't even walk around with 50 cedis. You are just now, the 50 cedis is gone.
Well, now the business community are themselves divided. Dr. Joseph Obeng of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, he is president, and Samson Awingobet is the executive secretary for the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. Listen to them.
I'm overly excited. This is exactly what I wanted to hear, and I heard it. It means that they have been listening to whatever pleas that we have been doing. The communication that we do with you on TV and all that is being listened to. And of course, it's all about he adopting compliance as a tool of revenue collection in his administration. And that is going to simplify tax collection system. That's why he's talking about flat rate, and that is going to even make duty payment flat rated, starting with spare parts. Why can't I be excited if this is what, after all these years we've said have been ahead of and being going to be adopted? So we are very excited. The fact that he said that invigilation should be the thing of the past in his administration, it means that he has also listened to a plea by the invigilation by VAT, and that being in government now, I believe he is talking to GRA to stop those exercises. And that, for us, is very positive. And the fact that he is also saying that GRA should, in his administration, he will do post-class audit for 5 years. Yeah, that's for 5 yearly is okay, so that we can have the freedom and peace to, because we are not to be treated as common criminals when doing business, and that 5 years is okay. What is happening now is 1 year, every 2 years they will come do postcards or they charge you some amount to pay and all that, and that does not augur well.
Dr. Joseph Obeng is president of GUTA. You heard him there. In studio with me is one of the advisors of the vice president, Dr. Kabiru Mahama. Doc, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Why is your boss running away from his boss?
Yeah, so let me say good afternoon to you and to your cherished listeners. The vice president had an opportunity to present for the first time a relatively comprehensive vision following his election as the leader and flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party. Yesterday was the first golden opportunity for him to present in extenso his vision for the people of Ghana, and he addressed the nation rightly so. In the statement of the vice president, he started off by outlining some of the achievements the government has chopped. In fact, he did not run away from the economy. He mentioned about the economy. He also mentioned specifically what he was assigned to do and the successes thereof. So the vice president, and then went on to present his vision. So one would be far from being right if the person says that the vice president is running away from his boss. There are certain policy directions the vice president will want to pursue, which are radically different. And he provided a caveat in that speech. He stated clearly that the times 2016 or 2017, the difficulties and situations are not the same that we confront in 2025. So it requires different leadership. It requires different set of ideas and bold solutions. The vice president basically presented that, not a run away from the president.
But I mean, what he wants to do, I'm going to ask you my question, but let me welcome on Zoom the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Agbande, who is joining us via Zoom. Mustafa, good afternoon. Thanks for being there.
Office.
Great. Mustafa is with us. Let me try and... So, Kabir, I was asking you that he's part of the team now. In fact, he's the head of the economic management team, isn't he? So, if there are things he believes would work for the economy, why wait till 2025? And that's not even an assurance that he would even win. Why wait till
then? The vice president is giving his message. He's been provided with an opportunity to serve the president and to help the president achieve his vision. The question people were asked is that, was he able to help the president achieve his vision? Largely, I am very confident that the vice president and now leader and flag bearer of the new petroleum helped the president to achieve his vision. The president came with a very bold initiative on free senior high school. He succeeded in that. He supported him. He came in with a vision of macroeconomic stability. Even though there are challenges, the vice president admitted, when you compare it to the records of their predecessor, their records is non-match. You can't match the NPP record in terms of the economy.
Really?
The data is there. We can go to the. We can go to the.
No, usually, is it only the data? It's about what the common person is feeling on the street.
The common person.
Is my money able to carry me through the month? If you compare 2016 and now, obviously, how we were faring in those times and now, they are not the same.
The individual experience will always vary. Someone would have been well-to-do yesterday, and today he's facing difficulty. Those are the micro level, feelings of the Ghanaian common people. But to make sense, you have to go to the aggregate, and the aggregate is the macro, and the figures will then speak to the macro. Individual experiences, we cannot jettison them. We cannot say they have no reasons to complain. We cannot say that the ordinary Ghanaian or some ordinary Ghanaians are not suffering. The vice president did not seek to portray that. The vice president essentially said that, look, there are challenges. We have the most difficult economic year, 2019, 2020, 2021. Okay, there was the most difficult period of our economic life since the 1930s. We've never had such a difficulty. But even in the midst of that, the government had performed so well. So the vice president was clear that if you are going to look at the alternative, the government we took over from, and we are going to look at the data, we are going to look at the experiences, because the numbers speak to the experiences of the people, then we cannot say that this government hasn't done well.
Okay, which numbers?
Look,
let's do the numbers.
We can go to, for instance, depreciation of the currency, which has been one of the topical issues. The vice president presented data to suggest that average depreciation of this government, even this period, is not more than 10%. When they were doing 17%.
Okay, fine. When you were taking over, what was the exchange rate for the dollar to the cedi?
The dollar to the cedi, the exchange, you mean the absolute figure or the rate?
The rate.
The rate, it was around probably maybe 6 Ghana cedi, 5 Ghana cedi to the dollar, if my memory can set me right.
No, it was 4.3.
So let's just say 4.
So he fought to the dollar.
Yes.
And today you are doing 12.
Yes.
To the dollar.
So I think the problem with the questioning and even the discussion has always been the fact that you can equally ask the question, what was the dollar when the NDC took over? So dollar will always depreciate. That is a given fact. No one will contest that. But if you come to the analysis, it was this, and you move in, what do you say? But you have to look at, if I was dying at a rate of 100%, okay, it means that I will die the following day. And someone has come to slow my death to 50%. Even though I am dying, you cannot say that the one who has reduced the pace, who has accelerated the movement of the currency hasn't done well. So that is the focus Ghanaians have to look at. You don't just look at the fact that dollar was 4 to $1, and you say that because it is now 11 cedi, 12 cedi, this government hasn't done. But you look at the rate. But for the intervention, this government, if it was going to move at the pace it was moving at the NDC era, probably would have been doing 20 cedi to the dollar. So that is the basis with which the government will say that, look, when you put the figures down, when you look at the rate at which the dollar was depreciating and you compare it with the rate at which the dollar is depreciating under the Nana Akufo government, you cannot say the government has not done well. So that is the numbers we are talking about. But even far away from that, we are not even discussing the Nana Akufo government. It is only when people want to box Dr. Bawumia to the records of the MPP, and they forget that Dr. Bawumia was only the vice president. The leader of the NDC, National Democratic, was also a vice president. He came on his own vision, and Ghanaian gave him the opportunity. Fairness, equity demands that at least the vice president should be assessed as the president. If he's not assessed as the president, you are assessing him as the vice president, then we are getting it totally wrong. Because the vice president hasn't had the opportunity to, as it were, be the leader, the executive president of the republic. He has not got any constitutional backing for any of the things he's doing. He can only proffer advice. The advice will be taken or maybe jettisoned. Okay, the vice president will continue to provide advice, but he has the role to ensure that things are done right if he's given the opportunity as the president and leader of the country. So people they have to come to accept the fact that a vice president is a vice president and nothing more. Okay, then you then compare, even if you be fair, if you were comparing the records of a vice president with a vice president. So, for instance, if John Mahama was the vice president, he stopped as the vice president, then we would have been doing justice to the topic if we compare his track record as vice president to that of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as vice president, and then you make a decision following from that. But you cannot compare a vice president to someone who has been a president and say that he should take responsibility for whatever happened when he was only the vice president to the president of the republic. Okay,
all right, interesting. Let me go to Mustafa Bandi. I'll come to you. Mustafa, thank you for joining us here. Now, you've heard Kabiru Mahama there. He says that his boss is just the vice president, and so you cannot hold him to the critical decisions that this government has made. You have to give him the chance to lead, to show what he can also do.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to my colleague Mahama in your studio. First of all, I hear the vice president describe himself as a mate and not a driver. Well, that would have been a recalcitrant mate who tried to isolate himself from the responsibility of his driver. In any case, we are talking about an economy that is bleeding. We're talking about an economy that has suffered because of mismanagement. And we had a driver and a mate managing that economy. The mate was responsible for collecting the money. Here the mate comes and says that if we could not account for the revenue we have made, you should blame my driver and not myself. That is a recalcitrant mate. Now, let me tell my brother that after we have spoken all the good English and the jargons, a Ghanaian is critical and conscious of one fact, and that is bread and butter issues. How does all these affect the ordinary Ghanaian? As we speak today, it is true that when we speak about transportation, the ordinary Ghanaian is concerned about the cost of purchasing a car, the tax burden on it, the cost of removing that car from the harbor, the cost of spare parts and maintenance. And as we speak, the ordinary Ghanaian is suffering when it comes to that part. We can also look at the average standard of living of an ordinary Ghanaian, that in 2016, a bag of rice was costing about 170 Ghana cedis. Today, it is 700 Ghana cedi and going high. That is what the ordinary voter, the average taxpayer, whose 30% of his salary goes into taxes, for which government is using and spending without accounting, that is what the ordinary taxpayer is suffering.
But Bande, I'll let you continue. But the rice, which kilograms are you looking at?
50 kilo. If you check in the market, you will find out that a 50 kilo of rice was 170 Ghana cedis in 2016. Today it is 700 Ghana cedi. The vice president talks about digitalization of medical records, but the ordinary Ghanaian is concerned about the fact that if you go to Kuala Lumpur today, there are still people lying down without beds. There are others who have been treated and they cannot get money to pay. Huge numbers of people are dying because government has simply failed to give medical care. He talked about health insurance. My brother, today, if you go to the National Health Insurance Office, it is a collapsed office. Because if you are holding a National Health Insurance card, yes, you can go to the hospital, but you will not get health care. You will simply have to go and borrow money and take care of yourself because government is owing service providers and is unable to pay. My brother knows that. The ordinary Ghanaian is concerned about the efficiency and effectiveness of the national health insurance as opposed to renewing same using digitalization. The NDC and nobody will write off the fact that digitalization plays a very crucial role in our economic management. Yes, it is, but the cardinal, most important responsibility of government is how better or worse off its citizens is when it is managing the affairs of the country. As we speak today, if you ask the ordinary Ghanaian on the street, what is your living condition? People cannot pay rent. companies are collapsing, 1, because of corruption, 2, because of high taxes, 3, because of bureaucracy in the system.
But Bande, aren't these the same things that Dr. Bawumia is saying? I'm correcting with the digitalization agenda. For example, I mean, you talk about the bureaucracies in the system. He says, I'm trying to eliminate the human interference in the system, and that will also help us in fighting corruption. Are these not the solutions that he's preferring already?
But when you are developing a country and you are having policy derivatives, such derivatives should impact on the lives of the people you are developing. As we stand, all the policies he spoke about, all that this government have been doing in the last 7 years is in direct opposite to the need and concern of the ordinary Ghanaian. And you and I know that today you cannot even afford a carton of Milo for kids because your salary is not equivalent to the expenditure and cost of living. He knows that and I know that. Bawumia is simply trying to whitewash himself. And I say that it is the highest injustice, is the highest level of unfairness for a sitting vice president to want to run away from the responsibility of government. Dr. Bawumia must know that his seat as a vice president is a seat that is a heir apparent of the president. This is a man who at all material point in time held lectures to boast about how they are going to change the economy of Ghana. Today he's running away because he thinks that, yes, Nanadu is going out, so I can ditch him and whitewash myself. There is no way any Ghanaian would decouple Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia from President Akufo-Addo. The records are that President Akufo-Addo's regime and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is full of corruption, deception. They have not fulfilled their promises. It's full of dishonesty, insincerity. They speak on the books and on the ground they do a different thing. The same way, if my brother Mahama can show me a single dam that was constructed since they came in 2016 to today, I will come publicly and apologize. But loans have been taken for dams. Okay. They simply share that money for their party people. This is the kind of man who says, because I am on a digitalization agenda, all problems in Ghana have been resolved. What is the cost of doing business? What is the cost of living standard of the ordinary Ghanaian? Today, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is saying that national service is no longer relevant because he wants to play games with the youth. Please, he should spare us.
Okay, all right.
Every youth, every reasonable young Ghanaian accepts that you must go and do national service to serve your country. As we speak, government has failed to pay national service personnel for the last 4 months. In fact, government is in arrears when it comes to simple allowance to national service personnel. So when you cannot fulfill your mandate in government, don't run away from the responsibility.
All right, thank you very much,
the
Bande.
youth of this country continue to be proud of national service, and they will continue to be part of national service. At any point in time, this NDC administration coming into government will ensure that every young man undertakes national service, and that cannot be stopped.
All right, thank you. I'll still come back to you. Kabiru, I mean, if you look at the whole thing about this economy, let's first understand, what is the duty that the president assigned to him as the vice?
Yeah, so the vice president was asked to play as the chairman of the sub-cabinet advisory committee known as the economic management team.
The EMT.
The EMT.
That's
the first thing.
Which the former vice president of blessed memory was heading when he asked him the 170 questions.
Exactly.
Right?
The vice president could equally come and be asked those questions. He will provide answers.
The 170 questions.
There was whatever. That was the vice president even provided answers to some of them in his presentation. So some people should not feel that the vice president is not accounting for the stewardship of this president. All of us have duty to account for the mandate that was imposed on the president by virtue of the fact that we serve the president.
Okay.
And that is on that basis that I'm here to even do this. On that basis that once in a while you call me and we have this discussion. Okay, it's not even only the vice president. But that said, we cannot And we should not. And we should not even contemplate trying to make the vice president the president. That's going to be far-fetched. So that point has to be established.
But he had a specific role, right?
Pardon?
He had a specific role.
Yeah, that is the first
To be
role.
head of the EMT.
Yes, and advise cabinet. And advise cabinet.
But are you saying that his advice was
The
not
vice
being
president has stated clearly that he's happy and the team is happy with the quality of advice they have provided. As to the implementation of those advice, it's for the president and the minister responsible to tell you which of the advice the vice president gave them, which was implemented, which was jettisoned. Okay.
Oh, so you want the president to come
I
and
am
answer
saying that it is right, and what happens in cabinet is the duty of cabinet. The president does not even have to explain. But I'm saying that the president knows the advice the vice president has given. Whether he's happy or not with the advice, the president can account for that. Okay. I cannot come to say that I gave president this advice and he refused. That is not the duty. And if any leader there come to tell us, I will be the first person to be against such a person wanting to lead us, because you have a responsibility to serve loyally to your president. And the moment you begin to drift away from your president, then you are just telling us that you are on a path that any person who disagree with you, and because the person is also on the path of becoming a president, the person should come to the public and begin talking about the government.
But that's not what he's doing.
That is not what the leader of the new patriot has done. That is not what he has done. I have just told you that he has accounted for the macro economy. And he has given you basis to say that despite the challenges we have, what we took it from, we're better than them. That is what the NDC have to come and contest. Okay, and before we can even have a clean slate for debate, NDC will have to come and contest the statement by the vice president that despite the challenges, and despite the fact that I was supposed to help the president in the management of the economy, to help the president to pursue his vision and mission for the country, despite the challenges we have performed better than the people we took it from. Okay, if they are running away from that debate, then they have no basis to even ask us to say that the vice president should be assessed as the president.
No, but people are saying that, well, once he was given, you have just told us that his assignment was to lead the economic management team. Over the years, he himself has made us aware that once you are the head of the economic management team, you have a big say in how the economy is run.
Yes, but you have a big say. Your say is not the way. You can have a say, there is a way, but that is not even the issue. The say is one. Parliament always have a say in how government is run, but the executive has the way. So a say cannot be equated to the way. So that point has to be. I don't even see why we should even be in that particular jungle, trying to equate the fact that I advise you, so therefore the fact that I advise you, whatever happens, therefore, whether good or bad, the one taking the decision should be absolved, or he is not, the one advising is the problem.
No, this question is critical because now he's promising to do away with a lot of the things that this government has done. He's part of.
We'll come to that.
Anyway, let me bring in the Traders Association to react to some of the things that your boss said. We do have on the line the General Secretary of the Traders Advocacy Group Ghana, TAG, Nana Poku. Nana Poku, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Now, you heard the Vice President there. He said they are going to make a flat rate of VAT applicable to you. When you are importing your things at the port, there will be that flat rate. And a lot of the things that people say will make the economy quite good for you, especially you traders. He even was specific when he mentioned spare parts, that when it comes to container, a flat rate will apply to the container that you do import. How do you respond or react to the things that the Vice President told you, the traders? Nana, kindly unmute so we can hear what you're telling us.
Good afternoon to you, Kojo.
Great, yes.
And our good listenership, out there. In fact, yesterday was the day I heard in my ears a president speak, because he was beyond my expectations. And the things that he said, in fact, this is how presidents that we should opt for talk or speak to the nation. In fact, it was left to very few for
Nana, you're making some cogent point, but we're having a difficulty in following your thing is not flowing. It keeps breaking. So if you can start all over again, I'll be happy.
Let me work on the microphone. I think it is because of the microphone.
Okay, then work on it. We'll come to you. Let me come back to Kabiru.
Yes.
Yeah, Kabiru. So you're making a point before I took it off from you.
Yeah. So my point is that the vice president is the vice president. Let's leave it at that, and let's focus on as vice president. One of the rules I mentioned. The second rule was the vice president was tasked to lead the digitalization of the economy, which he accounted sector by sector. What he was able to do, it was only on the digitalization that the vice president was having oversight. There was a secretariat in the office of vice president that had responsibility for the digitalization. There was no secretariat for any other thing in the vice president office. Okay? There was also the butter, the Sanohydro butter, that we can say that the vice president had oversight responsibility over, because there was a secretariat responsible for that in the office of the vice president. Nothing else that the vice president had oversight responsibility over.
So when it came to the fiscal space, he didn't have
the vice president. The president has the role of the fiscal, and that the constitution has so provided, and the president has given that role to the finance minister. The constitution is very explicit when it comes to management.
So you're saying that in this government, the president gave the fiscal space to the finance minister?
I'm saying that the constitution even provided, and the president was just only obliging to the provisions of the constitution.
Okay.
It wasn't the president decision, because the constitution, the Minister of Finance is mentioned clearly in the constitution of Ghana. So people should not even begin to take constitutional apportion roles, okay, and then apportion those roles to the vice president. The vice president would provide advice. He was brought in because of his expertise. He provided the advice to the best of his ability, and he said that he's very happy. And sitting down and watching the vice president and their members, I'm equally happy of the quality of advice the EMT was provided. Okay, I have no reason to doubt the quality of advice the EMT provided.
Okay.
Implementation could be different. Practical effect of those advice on the people could be different. People will have to assess that based on their feelings. But I sit down, knowing the quality of advice, I have no reason to doubt the word of the
Were you with him when he sort of introduced the men in the EMT when you came in 2017? Were you with him when he
in 2019? I think that was 2019 lecture at the College of Surgeons.
So you were with him?
Yes.
What was the purpose of showing that we had the men? It's not to say that, well, I lead a team that is changing the face of the economy. Is that not what
the purpose of that introduction is clearly what the vice president is, was that the EMT was to provide advice, and the men that he introduced were men of substance, men the president had belief and faith in, and those men and women provided the best of advice, and he's happy that with the team that he led.
Okay, all right.
And no single member of the team, can you tell me that in his own right, the person hasn't distinguished himself? We did not even want he did not even have to take the vice president to mention it.
But you know how I'll judge that?
Judgment of that will differ, but I'm saying
but a lot of Ghanaians will agree. A lot of Ghanaians, when you go out there, you hear them speak. They will judge you based on the nature. I mean, how their pocket, behaves.
I'm saying that you will be a very insensitive to the feelings of Ghanaians to say that how they feel they should not express it. But I'm equally also drawing your attention that many Ghanaians have had their livelihood improved. Many people have been employed who were otherwise unemployed. There were a lot of people who were not able to afford bread and butter. Now they are affording. Much as there are some people who probably would have lost their bread and butter, and there are some people who are still struggling to make the bread and butter. So those are micro level issues. I don't see anyone coming to say that I am better off. No one, by the nature of the Ghanaian people. We are all managers.
Okay.
But people have the affinity to express.
Okay.
The bad things than to express the good things that happen to them.
I'll come back to you. Let me go on to TAG. Nana Poku is General Secretary of the Traders Advocacy Group, Ghana. Nana, thank you. I'm told your system has been restored. You're making a point. You're reacting to the Vice President's statement.
Yes. Yesterday was a happy moment for traders and then business community as well. We are expecting presidents of the land to speak like this. We are all waiting for its implementation. For the delivery, he has been able to pour everything that he is thinking of doing. On the GRA invigilation, I think you are aware of the press conferences that we had and then no more credit in 5 years, the automated port that he spoke of, and then some of the port charges that we complain of. And now he's trying to replicate Lomi to Ghana. I think it's fantastic. What is left is very few, and I think his advisors will take on board. So it be that God gives him the opportunity to be the president, and he doesn't let it play like you were asking the gentleman, that he was the one who said we have the man. And I, for one, agree that he wasn't himself, because being a supporting, element doesn't make you the real element. That one, we get it right. But if by God's grace, he take the running of the country by himself, we will make sure that all that he poured out yesterday, he will implement them, because we are not fools. It's high time people will take people by their words. It's not like those days again that, oh, I'll do this, I'll do this. People will come and then, just say all these things out, and at the end of the day, we don't see anything. You see, there is one thing about this gentleman, the vice president, that I'm beginning to believe. He represents the youth, and then at the same time represent the old. So traders are expecting that he delivers, and the things that he said, he implements them. We will not want to have a situation whereby all his words is being chewed back. Oh, I didn't know, like what Nana Akufo-Addo is doing. I quite remember the former president told them that they don't know what it is to be a president. I don't want Mr. Bawumia, for that matter, Dr. Bawumia, to come out in the near future and say, oh, I didn't know. Then, if you don't know, don't speak about it. Make sure you are aware of the things and you are well informed and you have the solution. You see, some of his words were so encouraging that I present myself as somebody who worked things out, who actually solved problems. Man, if you are talking to somebody and the person is telling you this, there is a lot that we haven't uncovered about the man, Dr. Bawumia.
But I mean, there were a lot of things he said prior to 2016, before the Akufo-Addo Bawumia ticket winning the reins of power. The things he promised that the government will do. In 2020, he spoke of a lot of the things they would do. If you compare that to what they've done, do you believe, or what is your believability in the things the same person is telling you today that he will do if you give him the chance to rule?
Thank you, Kojo. Personally, I have gotten close to some of the people around him, and I've actually got to know that he wasn't actually of himself. Some of the things that he was trying to push were being, downplayed by the elements around the president. And these things, they are not able as men as they are to come out and say. But some of the things are before us. We know that he wasn't given the actual role to play, especially the EMT issues that the gentleman was talking about. If you are advised and Ken Ofori-Atta is saying, I won't take it, do you think the president to choose him over his cousin Ken Ofori-Atta? No. So it has been a problem for the whole country. Their actions and inactions were affecting the country, but they didn't know. Till today, that things are a little bit late of what they have done and so forth and so on. Me and for traders, as I speak for traders, we are looking for a person who will not spit on the ground and use his tongue to pick the spit back again. I'm expecting Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, if granted the opportunity to lead. We don't want to hear, oh, I didn't know. Right now, you have gone in there, some of the opportunities which he was actually supposed to be granted for us to see what is in him, did not materialize.
Okay.
But for now, if he's granted the opportunity, we are expecting so much that he spoke like a youth. He's about 60 years, but his actions is looking at least 40 years man who is speaking.
Okay.
We want to see actions that will save the country.
Okay.
We want to see actions that will make trading, because the way I deduce from some of his speech, you could see that he's trying to make Ghana a business hub.
Okay.
And we are ready for him.
Okay, all right. But Mustafa, you've heard the traders there. They feel very confident in the things the vice president is telling them. But you don't seem to see that.
The comment from the general secretary is not reflective of the situation on the ground.
Okay.
And for me, I believe that if you go on the street and you speak to traders and business people, they will tell you different. This same general secretary and his chairman in the last 1 month was in the media lambasting government for collapsing their business. And so I'm surprised that on this interview, in the last 20 minutes, he is full of praise to a vision statement, which does not run close to a manifesto and let alone talk of a budget. Now, on one breath, the vice president have jumped off the boat and saying that we should blame his boss. Does it mean that the whole team as government had enough advice to take Ghanaians out of the hardship that we find ourselves in, but yet they have recklessly and deliberately ignored good advice to take the whole nation into difficulties? Does it mean that where we find ourselves today, if the Bawumia-led government had adhered to their own advice, we would have been better off? People have died, businesses have collapsed, families are suffering, Ghanaians are suffering, teachers are suffering, nurses are leaving the country, and that we should reduce that to a conversation of rhetorics, and that let us repackage a man who has failed for him to look nice. Let us pay people to speak nice about him so that he becomes a president. Ghanaians have conscience, and Ghanaians are well abreast. The young men who are working on the streets and they have no jobs, the people who cannot feed their families 3 times a day, are well informed that the vice president is dishonest, that the vice president have lied, that the vice president is not sincere with the issues. If at any time he tried to jump off the boat, we still hold him responsible as the vice president of the Republic of Ghana. The man who was a vice president to His Excellency and is still the vice president to His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, under whose government we saw corruption, under whose government we saw mismanagement, under whose government we saw lies, under whose government we saw deception, under whose government we saw promises unfulfilled. And that this ceremony of going to whitewash Bawumia for Akufo-Addo's third-term bid, where he pretends to be quiet and not show up at the event, so that we say that Bawumia is jumping off his boat, doesn't make sense to anybody, and it won't make sense to the situation of the ordinary Ghanaian.
Okay, but Bande, is it you disagree on the fact that he won't be able to do what he's saying, or that what he's saying are not what Ghanaians need?
The man who, having got credibility of doing what he says, how can you then trust your life into his hands? Was it not the same man who came here touting himself as economic whiz-kid, and how the economy of Ghana was going to be turned around, and how if the fundamentals were weak, the exchange rate will expose you, and took the economy from $1 4 cedis to $1 12 cedis today? Is it not the same man who came telling Ghanaians that they will build one district, one factory, one village, one dam, only to take money from World Bank, dissipate and chop same to party cronies without executing the job? Is it not causing financial loss to the state?
All right.
Is it not the same group of people who said that they were doing one village, one dam, only to go and take Lebanese companies B5, which has been in existence for a very long time before Akufo-Addo became president, of pardoning them of their debts in taxes towards this country? So Ghanaians are paying taxes and foreign companies have been let off the hook. Today, you are telling us that just December, taxes that you have imposed on the people of Ghana, when you become a president, you remove those taxes. That is a joke. Okay. That is comedy. That is unreasonable. That does not make sense to the plight of the Ghanaian who is suffering on the street. The cocoa farmer who cannot get cocoa to harvest. Cocoa board is collapsed. But we are concerned about that.
Removing taxes.
This priority.
But removing taxes are what Ghanaians are calling for. So if he says I will remove taxes, that's what the Ghanaians need, isn't it?
Oh, this same man was in cabinet when all of these decisions were taken.
Okay, I hear. Let me bring you in studio, Bandi. I hear. But on national service, I mean, why take that decision? Because there is no problem that decision that proposal is going to solve.
You see, you cannot be seen to be condemning the Pope for immorality and hailing the prostitute for virtues.
Hey, which one is that?
You cannot be seen. The NDC seems to be speaking in support of Mr. John Mahama. It's basically condemning a Pope for immorality, which is Dr. Bawumia, and hailing the prostitute for virtues. Oh, but that is basically what they are doing.
Okay,
look, they are talking of honesty. They are talking of integrity. They are talking of corruption. They are talking of people who have had the responsibility of being the commander-in-chief and so who has not had the opportunity. That's the comparison they are trying to make. And I'm saying that even if they could attribute one innovative and life-changing and dynamic policy initiative that is so sterling, that have changed the fortunes of the Ghanaian people to Mr. John Mahama, I would have hailed them and said that the man you are asking to come is a messiah. But if you challenge them, they will not be able to give you one single policy initiative.
I mean, during his time.
During his time, as president, as vice president.
He did
as vice president, what could you attribute to Mr. John Mahama as vice president?
At least, when it comes to our power sector, he is the president regarded as the one who did.
I'm saying that vice president. We are not talking. We've not had the president. We've not had the opportunity to assess the vice president as president. Dr. Mahmoud has not had the opportunity for you to tell that he was able to do it. I'm saying as vice president, what policy initiative? That's why it is no doubt that Dr. Mahmoud is the most impactful vice president.
No, but he was
of the Republic.
John Mahama.
Mahama was the vice president.
Yeah, but he was the head of the economic management team.
I'm saying, in fact, he wasn't even the head of the economic management team. A different person was appointed. One professor who was at the presidency. Okay, so that is not even the truth. Okay, so let's even say that Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Mr. President John Mahama, the two is what we are trying to compare. They are miles apart. So let's not even do that. On the issue of national service, look, the Vice President listened to the concerns of some youth, and he had got engagement with some youth. Concern is that if nurses are made to do national service, if nurses could come out and get employed in the health sector, what do they have to do national service? They have employment waiting for them. People have built their brain. People in school are building businesses that they could just even unload unload onto their businesses, start their businesses right after school. Why do you have to say they should do national service? Knowing very well when they are working, they are contributing their capital by way of the money government is by way of taxes. Why do you have to say they should do national service? Even though the rationale for national service as instituted was to instill national patriotism and instill discipline. That's why they were made to go through compulsory national military training. That has been metamorphosed over time. It has changed. That even mandatory military exercise is no more part of national service. Times demand practical and bold solutions. And people doing national service, what does it add? Those people who could get themselves employed and employ other people, why do you have to force them to be doing national service when they can set up their own business? It doesn't make sense.
The national service gives you the platform to either put what you learned to practice.
Exactly, and the person is coming to do that.
To gain some experience.
Exactly.
Look, I did a Greek in school, but my national service, I worked in a media house.
So are you telling me that if you had got your own media house in school and you complete, we should still make you to go and do national service, either in your media house or someone else's media house?
But how are you going to implement that? What will be the criteria? Because if I have my own media house, how are you going to judge that this media house is profitable? This media house is one that can employ this.
It doesn't even have to do with profitability. It has to do with one, initiative, ingenuity of those people, and their willingness to kickstart. So if the national service is able, based on registration, based on profile, based on invigilation, they are able to establish that you have Sami has ABC business. that business is located here, it is doing ABC, why do I have to tell him to do national service? It doesn't make sense. National service is not a training, a ground that you want people to must necessarily, like a stage of life someone must necessarily pass through. It is supposed to, one, give you experience. You mentioned it. If my work is giving you experience, what other experience do you want me to get? You want to instill patriotism.
Yeah, you serve the country.
You serve the country.
Because the country spends on you when you were in school.
Exactly. You serve the country.
You serve the country.
So are you telling me that Joy News, which is employing people who would other have been on the street, paying taxes, is not serving the country?
They are.
Exactly. So that person setting the business is serving the country by paying money to the state, and the place is usually to develop the country. So service to country is in different form. You must, even some of them, you and I know, some of them go to the workplace, they sit down without any work. They just go there because they are national service, they must go and waste a whole year without any experience. Why do you have to force people to go through such an exercise? We need practical solutions.
No, but that will not change with your policy.
The policy...
Because those who will still go, you say it's voluntary.
Yes.
So if I decide to go, yes, I am allowed to go, right?
Yes.
If I go and sit there a year without doing nothing, your policy still does not change that.
It has. One, it has given people opportunity who are creative, who are willing to start, to go their path. And the nation support them to go their path. That is one.
You're going to support them?
Government, the inherent in the policy is a private-led economy.
Hey.
Inherent in Bawumia's statement, is a private sector leading the development of the country, especially in road sector.
So how are you going to do that?
He has mentioned about PPP arrangement for roads to be constructed.
No. I mean, let's stay with the national service. For example, if I have my business and I'm doing it, and so I complete when I decided I want to stay in my business and do it, you say government will support such. And I'm saying, how are you going to support me?
One, government has tax holidays. That's because you're a bad young person coming to establish, by the fact that we recognize you as a student coming out, government can give you free tax over the period.
Oh, it can.
It is even there. It is even in. Those things. Government even implemented some of them. This government has implemented so that if you employ a certain number of graduates, you are exempted from tax. People who don't know and know those who are not taking advantage, it's already there. That's a way of government supporting. Okay, government can support those particular people by. In fact, government has even stated they are training some 1 million. The vice president has mentioned it. So 1 million people in new skills, IT, and then Gen Z generation. Okay, that is another way of support. So there are a whole lot of support you can extend to people in this regard to ensure that people are able to take care of themselves and to employ other people. So it is not the case that the vice president just sat down and thought that national service is not relevant. So why is he saying they're scrapping it? Because he feels that national service is still important to the extent that some people don't have jobs and they will need to do on-the-job training.
Have you heard Dr. White? He says your boss does not understand what he's talking about. He's been the Director General of NSS before.
I started working for National Service before Mr. Kwesa White.
You did?
I was the National President of National Service Personnel.
But that's NASPA.
I'm saying that I started and I was working at the Secretariat dealing with National Service Personnel. I know their needs and I understand their needs than the Executive Director.
So are you saying you understand the system better than
I am saying that I understand the needs of National Service Personnel working for them during that particular period than Mr. Kwesa White. Okay, you are the Executive Director. You sit in your office. You deal with administration. The leadership of National Service know what National Service say. They know how their colleagues feel. So he cannot say that by virtue of the fact that he wasn't the only person who has been to the National Service. There were other Executive Directors before him. He cannot appropriate the absolute knowledge of what transpired in National Service to him, with the greatest respect to Dr. Kwesa White. Okay, his views will be tolerated. We will tolerate his views because that is what we have dissenting views. He has even virtually disagreed with whatever Dr. Bawumia has said. Do you expect National Service issue to be different? So this is what we are talking about. And let me even try to address the issue about the Bawumia being there and he cannot trust his words. Bawumia has given a lot of promises. Most of such promises have been fulfilled. People only go to pick one or two that has not been fully fulfilled. And I usually challenge people. Tell me one single lie Dr. Bawumia has ever told this country.
Oh, really?
Yes, I challenge every single person to tell me one single lie Dr. Bawumia has ever told the people of Ghana.
there was a promise of SHS student getting one laptop.
A promise of HRB, was it a lie? Because it's being implemented, and the Minister of Education, if you are a journalist and you want to fact check about that, you go to the ministry and find out whether there is that initiative.
No, so
the fact that
has a single SHS student received a laptop?
If I say that I am going to provide senior high school with a laptop by say end of the year, and the I'm not able to provide all. Some have gotten, okay. Some schools have tabs they are using, and you say I have told a lie. The fact that then all governments tells lie. No, because I can give you examples of things Dr. Bawumia said he was going to do and wasn't able to do. That wasn't a lie.
So all government tell lies.
No, that is not lie, because a lie is a deliberate. Let me define a lie.
All government tell lies.
But if that is your definition of a lie, which is problematic, then every government tell lie. Because lie is a deliberate misrepresentation of fact, knowing very well that what you are saying is not true and you don't have intention of fulfilling that.
So which school has gotten the laptop?
Okay.
So that I can go there.
I can't give you figures off head. But I'm saying that if you need those detailed figures, the Minister of Education is a place for verification. Then you then come back and just oppose that with what Dr. Bawumia said.
But you should also know that your boss, the Vice President, said every SHS student will have one laptop. And I'm asking you now, which SHS student has gotten a laptop? Because he's promising again.
The Vice President
the laptops will be given.
The Vice President, he mentioned in his statement,
yes.
if it was done in his absolute, he wouldn't have mentioned it.
Oh, so it's not done. He's promising again.
I'm saying that a promise not fulfilled doesn't make it a lie. That is the problem we have with this narrative of lies.
Kabir,
if I tell
you say you're going to give me this phone,
yes,
and you end up not giving it to me,
yes, is that a lie?
It's a lie.
That is problematic.
Because you promised me.
It could be one logic to think there's a lie. If I tell my wife that I'm going to give you money for shopping today, at the end of the day I'm not able to give you the money today, that's not a lie. Okay. You may be asking, why is my husband not able to give me the money? Was it the case that the money he was expecting never materialized? Okay. You don't term that a lie.
Okay.
And that is the problem we have about this whole issue of tagging people, someone has lied. When you don't even lie in Easter, we can go to the dictionary and check it. Okay? If you say something knowing very well that you don't intend, and there's not even approach, there's not even step taken today, and the person saying that's a lie. But the Vice President has come to say that, okay, based on the information the Minister of Education has given it, they intend, and we ensure that by end of year, every high school student will have a laptop. Now, we have budget crisis. Government is not able to provide money for that, for said laptop. You go around and say the Vice President has lied. How can that be a lie? How can, in your wildest images, how can such be a lie? But if the Vice President has come to tell you that I want to provide laptops, not very well, there's not even arrangement at the Minister of Education for such, and you check to be sure that there has not been such a communication in it at all, you can then try to impugn the Vice President being dishonest, impugn the Vice President lying to the people of Ghana. But you've not done that. Just because the fact that I promise you people promised us country, was it a lie to the people of Ghana?
But your government did. Your
I'm saying that if your mama, they promised the what city, the global city or whatever, they gave us pictorial evidence of that in this country. Was it a lie?
You're talking about the Hope City.
The Hope City.
But you also promised.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Was it a lie? It wasn't for me. In my assessment, in my candid assessment, I don't think that the Hope City was a lie. I feel that it was a promise not fulfilled. And if I'm going to judge the government, I'm saying that you promised me A, B, and C, you never achieved them.
But do you know that when you promise your wife you give her money and you didn't, next time when you promise your wife, the probability of her not trusting you is high.
Valid. I have no qualms. I have no disagreement. I have no dissenting opinion on that. But I'm saying that, but if I give you A, and I promise you B, and tomorrow I promise you C and I give you, you know that it was difficult. If I'm promising you D, you have faith that if those factors that have made me difficult to give you the B do not prevail, I'll give you D. So that is that's the thinking, the logic people. And again, let me just even conclude by saying that we shouldn't confuse what ought to be with what is. Okay?
So what
is the fact of a matter. What is a fact of matter? The fact that your mama has been a president. What ought to be is the fact that the vice president is the vice president, so he ought to have been given the powers of a president. That confusion is a betrayal of logic God has bestowed on us.
Okay.
And we shouldn't even go to that level.
Again, I mean, the vice president is part of a government which promised the people of Cape Coast an airport. It has not materialized. How do you think that Cape Coast president would trust that you say you're going to give his or her daughter
the vice president with the president promised the people of Frisina and they provided. The vice president promised the people who apply for passport that will go digital and will provide. The vice president promised.
What about Cape Coast Airport?
I'm coming. One issue you are mentioning, which I'm going to give you 100 issues. The vice president promised and delivered.
Okay.
So if I promise you 100 goods and I was able to provide you with say 500, 50, you have to look at the numbers so provided. The vice president provided people Ghana card. Ghana card that NDC started and couldn't finish. And he announced yesterday that newborn children will now be captured from March. Okay, the vice president promised the people of Ghana that medical drones will be used to deliver, and people say it was a lie.
But then the newborn thing, you said it in the year that the newborns will be given numbers, isn't it? It was last year also, you said this.
But they didn't say it was going to be provided last year. I can remember the vice president.
But I even challenged someone.
So let me tell you, I was privy to the discussion, the procurement of equipment, where they were going to be placed, either at the district or at the various hospitals. And the whole discussion around it by Professor Atefa with the vice president on all the economic.
So this has been done?
I'm saying that I'm not the one to announce such policies. Okay. If they need be and the government asks me to do, I would. But I'm telling you that I'm privy to such discussion.
Okay.
So the fact that something has not been materialized doesn't make it a lie. That's the first thing. And that's why I usually challenge that. Look, let's run away. You cannot, the multitude of hashtags, the multiplicity of them, trying to make someone who is not, doesn't make him one. The fact of the matter is that the vice president has been honest to the people of Ghana. Fact of the matter, the vice president is not corrupt, and he's coming against someone who has had the reputation, at least allegations, if you like, of corruption.
No, allegations.
I say that a reputation, if you like, it will be mild.
What is a reputation really? If you say, if I allege against you that you've stolen my phone,
I'm saying that you are saying, I'm saying that the vice president is not corrupt. Which we all know, even the fiercest critic cannot, in fact, taint his integrity with any resemblance of corruption.
Okay, all right.
But there are people who seek to leave this country, who have had history, who has not come to deny some of the issues of corruption against them.
Okay.
So we we are just comparing. We cannot just compare the vice president to the former President Obama.
Okay.
So I will hate it. I will not like it. I will disdain it if someone coming to condemn the Pope for immorality, but hailing the prostitute for virtues.
Okay, all right. The rest is for the people of Ghana to decide. But let me wrap up with Bande. Let me give you let me give Bande a minute, and I'll go to Nana Poku and give him a minute for us to wrap up. Bande, what will be your concluding remarks?
Yeah, just a minute. Can Mohammed tell me where the dams are?
But simple check. Go to City FM online. They gave you a documentary of the dams. I don't even need to give you.
We did the dams. The dams were not there.
I'm saying City. I'm telling you this. Are you work with City FM?
No. I mean that we did the dams.
I'm saying that you can play City FM 1D1 assessment of them. Though this is a dam ongoing. This is a picture of a dam. I mean, let us not even be going to that. This is
so where are they? Where are they?
If you have time, I can play this.
No. He says show you where the dams are.
I am saying that.
I'll send my team to go there.
Yes. You
no. This will disturb.
No, it will not disturb because you want evidence.
Where are they?
You want evidence.
Where are they?
On this set, I can't give you.
So just mention the name.
Can you? Let me answer the question.
Okay.
And I'm not going to answer the question the way you want it.
But just give us
please. I'm saying I'm not going to answer the question you want. You have asked me a question.
Exactly.
You've asked me a question. And let me provide you the answer. Let me provide you the answer. And I'm saying that. Look, I could mention names of community off head. You don't know those communities. Wait. You don't know those communities that you can go and check off here. But with the greatest of respect to this thing, I don't want you to be giving you information that is not cool. I can mention name of community. I know communities dams were built. There are communities in my constituency that dams were built. I can mention that
are they part of
they are part of what you are, but I'm saying that you have no knowledge. You have no knowledge of finding whether they are true or not.
Oh, but
if I tell you there's one that can you confirm?
Doc, I told you that. Hold on.
If I tell you, if I tell you that there's one can you confirm?
I'm saying
that. Let us be decent in our conversation.
Will you listen to me? I'm saying that we have done a work which we titled Thirsty Dams, We go to this dam site that your ministry has provided. We go there and the dams are dried up. So I'm asking that if you do have one that there's one that is functioning. So
I'm telling you that if you production will allow, I'll let you play this. And this is government at 556 across the country in the northern region. 560.
So which community?
A City FM documentary.
Which community is this?
560 is not one community. I'm saying that I don't want to provide a community which is not based on this particular data. And if you give me 5 minutes, if you this way will I'll take my time and give you the names of the community on that. But you cannot ambush me on the set. And you want me to mention a name. I can give you a name you have no idea about. And I'll be lying to you on this set. And I'm saying that 560 of them, special initiative, you can work.
560?
560.
They are functioning. They are working.
All of them may not be working. Some of them have dried up. Some of them, because of the poor quality of work that was done on them. I'm not disputing any of that. I'm not disputing the fact that some of them were done poorly. And the government has admitted that. But you cannot also tell me that all this dam, because I've shown you pictures of dam with water, with people using them. So you cannot say that because I should mention a community. If I even mention a community, how do you check on this set that the community I've mentioned is the right community? So that's the discourse I want us to run away from. If you were asking us, we'll discuss small
maybe we'll bring you one day and discuss
we'll discuss this. I'll give you names, location, and GPS location of those dams. You can go and check.
All right. Fifi Dodu says, a friend of ours who's watching us from UCC in Cape Coast, he says he couldn't defend the airport. It was such a lie. Well, anyway, let's see. But Bande, you were making a point. I gave you a minute. Please wrap up for me so that we can move on.
So someone is just giving that Zamvuga Wale. It never dry up. Someone has just said that.
Zamvugu Wale.
Not Zamvugu, Zamvuga.
Zamvuga.
Yes, it is in the Wale constituency.
Okay, you said it to me.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. Look.
Don't worry. Let's listen to Bande.
People have the
let's listen to Bande. Let's listen to Bande. You and I are here. Bande,
so his question is answered.
I'm wrapping up to say.
No, Nana Poku, I'll let you come in. Hold on for me. Let me hear from Bande.
I'm wrapping up to say that Dr. Tia is lying that dams were constructed. And I dare him on this program that he should mention one village where a dam is being constructed, and tomorrow morning I'll be in that village.
He's given us one name.
I say that we have a vice president who is not sincere. We have a vice president who lacks credibility to deliver on what he says. And I'm saying that it is the highest social crime to try to decouple Dr. Bawumia from Akufo-Addo. He will remain a vice president under whose regime Ghana saw the highest level of corruption. He remained the vice president under whose regime we saw appointees stealing government resources. Today, as we speak, if you ask the ordinary Ghanaian, the perception of corruption about this government, it is very unprecedented. When these same people, ask him, where is the 1 million per constituency? Ask him. He's a policy advisor in the office of the vice president. Where is the 1 million per constituency? Was that not a lie? Was that not a deception that government has benefited votes on that promise and failed to fulfill? Where is the $1 million? We are 7 years old in government. Where is the $1 million per constituency? Businesses are collapsing today. And you don't simply care. You still sit on TV and try to spew deception. The vice president is a liar, he is dishonest, and Ghanaians cannot trust their lives in him.
All right. Bande, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Nana Poku, let me hear your concluding remarks and then we can wrap up.
Kojo, it's unfortunate some people believe that whatever they believe, we traders should also believe.
Exactly.
I didn't like the way the man, came in by saying that we are always paid money to come out and say things like this. Traders have been crying, and we are trying to receive a pronouncement like what Dr. Bawumia did. If he indeed cares for traders and he knows our plight, he should encourage his flag bearer to speak so that we'll also be happy. So when somebody speaks and we come out and say we are happy, and it actually worries you, it doesn't make the discourse goes very well. That everybody who is speaking his mind is speaking for somebody. Because of you and your political direction, I shouldn't be happy. The man said what makes traders happy. He should also come out and say things that will make us happy. Whether he is a lie or whatever that he thinks, that is to his opinion, not to traders. You see, they should know all the dynamics whenever that they are speaking. Look at the way your posture. Should I go and vote for you to be drinking tea in the afternoon? If I say that, would you take that? You are taking tea. So if I go and vote for you, it is the same trend that you are coming to display for us. That draws disrespect.
Okay.
If we are saying Dr. Bawumia is spewing the things that traders want to hear, that is the truth.
Okay, Nana.
Because traders are suffering.
Okay, Nana.
Change our position.
Nana, I'm grateful.
Towards this government.
Nana, I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
And MPP will actually accept the fact that we have come after them so hard
Nana, I'm grateful
to make these changes.
I'm grateful, Nana. Thank you very much, Nana, for joining us here. Nana Poku is General Secretary for the Traders Advocacy Ghana Group. Well, so what you were seeing whilst Nana was speaking was a sample of the work we did on the thirsty dams, which, of course, when we went, some of the dams had dried up, as you could see on your screens there. But Doc has given us a name. We'll follow up.
In fact, I'll even give him more.
He's okay. So we'll follow up and then bring you those stories here. Doc, I'm grateful that you could join us.
Yeah, but
here.
let me just note that more. That's what I'm saying. That sometimes you don't put questions. People are sending you more dams.
Okay,
which are we have. Yeah, I mean Karga district.
It's
we
good.
have a dam at Yemo Karga and Pisigu.
Yeah, good.
We have now Wawu and.
Do you know what you do?
Yes.
Send me all of this list.
I will send you
and then,
all that.
And then we would follow up.
I will send you all that list. But my final words, I just want to note is that look, this our politics has gone beyond politics of insult.
Okay.
The vice president essentially has introduced issue-based politics into our discourse. He did that yesterday with he continued that yesterday with his vision statement. He never insulted anyone in that speech. And if you want to respond to it with the facts of the matter.
Okay.
You don't go insulting people, tagging people because you think that's the only avenue. That posturing is not helping anyone.
Okay.
In fact, I could go ahead and say someone is with some names. I don't want to mention them.
Don't say it.
Okay. But that doesn't help us in our political discourse.
Okay.
Okay, so I would think that the NDC, if they want Ghanaians to take them serious, they should come with the issue. Let's debate. I told them that we should pin ourselves to the issues, the record. And lastly, he mentioned about 1 million. He says it's a lie. He has forgotten that IPEP projects, and it was explained in Parliament. All those 1D you are asking, one village, and some of them are dried up, are out of those particular projects of 1 million.
The one village, one dam is out of the $1 million.
They are also hospitals. They are public toilets.
No, but in my constituency, all the projects were not completed. I can
and
take
I'm saying
it
that all of them were not completed because funding was not coming as it was. So you don't say the vice president promised 1 million.
I'm grateful to you, Dr. Kabir Mahama. Well, this is still the pause. We'll take a quick break, but still to come, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly has summoned 5 traders over air pollution and insanitary offences. Now, we'll bring you details of that right after this break. Do stay. Welcome back from the break. Now, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly has summoned 5 traders over air pollution and sanitation offences. The 5 persons, mostly fish smokers in Choco, were directed to appear before the Assembly during the Accra Metropolitan Assembly's Clean Ghana campaign monitoring exercise. The team also discovered that most fish smokers in the Choco area have been operating without medical certificate. There is more in the following report.
Although fish smokers play a major role in putting food on the table of many, the poor sanitary conditions surrounding the operation have come under serious concern. Their activities have also come under criticism as a major cause of air pollution in the city. According to a recent IQ Air Index, Accra has earned the unenviable position as one of the cities with the poorest air quality globally. Launching the 2024 edition of the Clean Ghana campaign in Accra, Metro Health Director of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Florence Kuchi, said this year's campaign will focus on activities polluting the air.
this 2024, one of the major things we'll be doing much is going to be on sensitization and some mitigation measures on air pollution. We have seen that we've just begun the year, but per the news that are coming out, we've seen that Accra is not in the best state when it comes to air quality that we are breathing within the city center.
The team kicked-start its monitoring exercise with a visit to some fish smoking sites in Choko to assess the sanitation situations in the area.
Just look at it.
Some aggrieved residents of the community said fumes from these smoking joints have been a nuisance to them and the entire neighborhood.
Now, whenever they start smoking, you can't stay here because there are rooms and everywhere. You can't even sit. Yeah, you can't even sit around. So we should do something about it.
So this woman falls within the vulnerable group, yes, because she is pregnant. You know, I mentioned that there are 3 categories of vulnerability. So what makes a situation serious is breathing in, it can have an impact on the unborn baby.
Florence Kuchi said the assembly will in the coming days organize a training program for traders to help address the situation.
There's going to be training for these fish processors on hygienic content, on how to handle their environment, even how to handle the fish before and after processing, the kind of water they should use, even how to display it in the market.
At the end of the monitoring exercise, 5 persons have been summoned to appear before the assembly over various sanitary offences. Kwesi Adai Kwarton's report for Joy News.
Well, joining us for a conversation on this is Desmond Appiah, who's country lead for Clean Air Fund Ghana. We also have Hey Retin Kung, lead on the Removing Pollution from Play Project Global Designing Cities Initiative, GDCI. We also have Honorable Samuel Ni Eje-Teria, Municipal Chief Executive, Colette Clotte Municipal Assembly. They're all joining us here. Grateful to you for joining us. Now, let me start. Let me start with the project lead, the country lead for Clean Air Ghana, Desmond. So Desmond, I mean, if we listen to that, it's quite problematic. But how widespread is this that we should all be alarmed to join in the campaign against such?
Thank you very much for the invite, and we are very excited that your station is picking up on the sources of the pollution and then also asking the questions on what can be done. And I think it's important also to highlight that the reason why we are concerned is that the impact of the pollution on our health and also on our pockets, on the economy, is also extremely high. We should be concerned because it is widespread. If you go around our city, you will find so many places where there's refuse burning. You find places where the use of wood and charcoal for cooking is also widespread. And on top of that, you also find that there are a lot of vehicles in the system that are poorly maintained and are emitting a lot of soot and other pollutants. So these 3 that I've mentioned are the main sources of air pollution. The ones that we have a lot of, or we can have a lot of impact on. There's also the background natural sources of the pollution, which includes the harmattan and the like. So it is widespread right now across the whole city and across the country. We are in the harmattan season. So there's that background high level of dust, which is affecting visibility, affecting vulnerable people in the community, and also all of us. But there's also the human aspect, which is extremely important that we be able to pay attention to, mainly because we can do something about it. If you look at the video you showed, the smoking practices, and in one of our projects, we have a sensor in that neighborhood, and that sensor is almost always reading very high because the levels of smoke coming from the operations of the fish smokers is high. And so these are things that we can be doing things about. We can take some remedial action and some mitigation. The last bit on this point is that the enforcement aspect is quite challenging. You saw that the AMA officials are talking more of the sanitation because we've recognized that bylaws do not or are not very strong on air pollution. And so we are working also to be able to work with the local assemblies to review those bylaws so that the air pollution aspects become more prominent. The EPA has been doing a lot of things. They already have laws and regulations, and part of what we are working with EPA and the assemblies to do is to bring that national level laws to be meaningful at the local level so that it can empower the assemblies in the enforcement aspects.
So let me bring in Hayretin Gunk here. You heard Mr. Appiah saying that, I mean, it affects all of us, but people would want to find out, so what is the impact on me or on all of us, such that the real impact, so that people can sit up to say, well, then of course we need to do something about it.
Thank you so much for the invite. In terms of the global context, I think we can say we are seeing that exposure to air pollution is already a major risk factor, and it has significant consequences. WHO estimates like 4.2 million people die every year due to pollution in outdoor environments. So it's a very significant factor. What we saw in the previous video, open waste, burning, cooking, in addition to those things, 40% in Accra context, 40% of the pollution comes from traffic congestion and vehicle traffic. So it's something that needs to be addressed. When we think about the most vulnerable, our kids, our elderly, they're more exposed to this risk. Just by being outside, they get impacted, their lives get impacted significantly. So with this collaboration with the municipality and the Clean Air Fund, we're aiming to create these pilot projects in Kole Klote that aim to create these safer spaces for air quality.
Interesting. So what must happen? What should all of us do to ensure that we minimize this, or even if it's happening, minimize the impact that it will have on all of us, the environment and individuals?
Like I mentioned, I think what we are interested in, our organization is focused on how we can create better mobility options for people so that they can move from one place to another without emitting a lot of pollution. So in terms of public transit, cycling, walking, how can we create infrastructure that supports these modes of transit so we can reduce the pollution that comes out of this? So that's going to be the main focus. But as we've seen in the previous video, there are other challenges in Accra context that we need to address related to open waste, burning, cooking. These should be addressed and organized with guidelines and enforced. So it's a complex issue and it's a very urgent issue. And I'm happy that we're discussing this in this moment. So.
Let me bring in someone who has the power to ensure that something changes about all of this. Samuel Nieje Teria is Municipal Chief Executive for Kole Klote. Honorable, thanks for joining us. So what is your assembly doing to ensure that some of these insanitary conditions around where we do get our source of food from are checked to protect the people? Honorable, kindly unmute so we can hear what you're telling us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I would like to say that there are a few things that are low-hanging fruits that we can pluck, and then straight away it may have some effects on the pollution situation. And some of them have to do with the fact that if most of us start doing a little bit more walking, a little bit more cycling, etc., to wherever we are going to, that will be helpful. And also probably we need to look at having better public transport systems so that most people that drive tend to public transport system, that therefore having lesser vehicular traffic. And then also another area we could look at is, I mean, if I use the Kingsway area, for example, because of the hawkers selling directly to passengers in vehicles, it delays the traffic, and that is one source of concern. And also generally street hawking also delays the traffic. So we have people selling, sitting in the traffic area, maybe sometimes 12 or so hours in a day. All this is not good. So these are some of the things that if we enforce vigorously, it should have some effect, more or less immediately.
From the visuals we're seeing, these are quite troubling environment, and they are preparing food that we'll all go out there and buy and eat. So as the head of a municipal assembly, what strategic things are you doing to ensure that we are able to eradicate this sort of practice and give them the better ways of drying the fish for us to go buy and eat? Honorable, kindly on you so we can hear you, Samuel.
So I couldn't hear what you said because the line was seriously breaking off.
Okay.
I didn't
Can you hear me now?
So you may have to repeat yourself.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, better, much better.
Good. So I'm trying to find out from you.
Yes, I can.
That as the head of the municipal assembly, what are you doing to ensure that, I mean, these conditions in which the women are smoking fish for us to go and buy and eat are just not right. So what are you doing to eliminate that and give them quite a very good environment within which they can smoke their fish for you and I?
Okay, thank you very much. So we have similar situation to what is in Odududiodo in Isu. And probably a couple of years ago, Osu Night Market, for example, the Honorable Member of Parliament did something about the way they smoke their fish there. That is raising the roof of the night market and also putting certain equipment or machines that are able to extract the smoke from the underneath the roof where they were. And I think we need to do more of such things in the areas that they smoke the fish. Provide more ovens that will allow us to have more user-friendly ways of smoking our fish. But this cut across areas by the seaside, the coastal area, that is places like Tema, Teshi, Nungwa, Osu, Choko, La. And I'm sure we are doing our best, but it will take some time. Just like the intervention that was done in Osu, probably we need more in other areas.
But so I wanted to understand the specific things that your assembly is doing. Are these things that you are doing yourself in your municipality?
Okay, so for example, we have plans for the Osu night market where most of this roasting of fish is done, but it's in the process. And I'm suggesting that if more of these are done along the coast, it will also be very, very helpful.
Yeah. Okay, let me bring in Desmond up here. Desmond, I want to wrap up with you on this. Now, he says if these things are done, it would help. I mean, do we have an avenue where Clean Air Fund or any stakeholder could help in ensuring that these are extended to other parts of the country so that we could check the smoke and pollution of the air for us to breathe in?
Yes, and I think I'm happy to say that we have been building the capacity of some assemblies that we've been working with in the last 6 months, including the AMA officials that you saw, and other environmental health and other technocrats from the assemblies. The idea is that we need to first build the awareness and the knowledge base so that people begin to see that this is a real challenge. Now, there's also the bit where you need to monitor and monitor the levels of the pollution so that people can begin to see that these are the levels and what it means, the impact on their health. And so Clean Air Fund has a number of projects going. We are developing an MOU with the EPA because they have the ultimate mandate for improving the quality of the environment, including the air, to be able to ensure that the awareness creation is built and people can know what it means to themselves and also to the larger community. You know, sometimes the pollution may be happening at one end, but the consequence is felt at another place because air pollution is transboundary. It moves. You may be burning at this point, but it's moving to another enclave where the consequence is greater. And so that level of engagement is necessary. Augmenting the EPA's monitoring capacity is also necessary and important. We are hearing and seeing EPA coming out a lot more with warnings on things that we can or couldn't be doing, depending on the pollution levels around. So currently, I think the capacity for monitoring has improved across Accra, and that is helping to give real-time information, real-time data. Previously, the information would be a bit more delayed, but real-time information, we can go in the morning and check the status of the pollution in our area, and it kind of informs us the next line of action that we take. And so that is one aspect. There are also other projects that we are supporting, working with. We work through grantees. We are undertaking some research to understand why it's even more difficult to implement or enforce environmental regulations. So we can have better understanding and then we can tailor solutions towards that. We are working with the Ministry of Environment also to highlight these issues of air pollution and to understand better what the impact of the policy solutions that have been professed would mean on ground, just so that it helps to tailor the solutions. And the typical example is the work that we are doing with GDCI and Korle Klote Municipal Assembly to look at pollution at playgrounds specific, because pollution, it affects children more severely than adults, mainly because children breathe in faster. They are also closer to the levels of the pollution if it's coming from vehicles, for instance. They are shorter, and so they breathe in faster, their heart beats faster, they breathe in more, their organs are not fully developed, and so if there are pollutants in the air, it affects them more. And that's why this pilot that we are doing with GDCI and Korle Klote is the first of its kind, using the designing and monitoring of air quality in their spaces. So we'll be able to tell that if we make some amendments and changes to maybe areas where there are schools and there are children, then we realize those interventions lead to reduction in pollution levels, then it can be a policy recommendation for better application or wider application across the whole system to be able to reduce the exposure levels for children. And that is also one key aspect. Then we've undertaken a study which has highlighted the perception, understanding, and knowledge of our citizens in 4 major cities: Accra, Tema Newtown, Ashiaman, Kumasi, and Tamale. And it's highlighting the levels of knowledge and how people perceive pollution, things that people are doing to maybe safeguard themselves. And it's also be part of what is going to influence the direction that we take. For instance, if we've learned that traditionalists seem to pay more attention to environmental issues than Christians and Muslims. And that is a very key finding, which we think means that when we are addressing areas, we are addressing larger audiences, we can tailor our programs to be able to target the areas that we need to have most impact. Also, it's clear that women are most affected. Vulnerable people in our communities are most affected. And when we say vulnerable, it's easy to look at Accra and say, oh, these areas, there's no impact. No.
Okay.
Transboundary, it affects everybody, but more vulnerable people are most affected. And it helps to even advise the assemblies to be able to say, focus on the areas where people are more vulnerable so that you can have the impact to reduce the deaths that we are experiencing. In Africa, over 1 million people are dying from air pollution-related diseases, and it's next only to HIV and AIDS. And so in Ghana, reports are saying at least 28,000. In Accra, over 18,000 a year. And so we need to be able to be acting. The cost to the economy from a World Bank study a couple of years ago is about $2.5 billion a year to the economy. And granted that we've gone to IMF or the World Bank to seek 2 billion or 3 billion, it should put it in perspective for us what we can do and what we can save as we are saving lives.
Everything. I'm aware that your organization is also doing something in this regard in schools. Share more light on that for us.
Yes, like Desmond mentioned, we have this project called Removing Pollution from Play. Children are most vulnerable to air pollution, so we would like to focus on school areas in Korle Kloti. And there are schools that we identified right next to busy arterials, busy vehicle corridors. So we are thinking how to reduce that vehicle traffic so these pollution levels are reduced. We can also create these play areas, playgrounds around these spaces. So not only school community can use these spaces, but also the residents around these schools can use. So we hope this pilot project will be successful. We'll be collecting data, we'll be doing workshops with the communities. And when we evaluate the results, we hope to scale this up so we can implement similar projects around Korle Kloti and also in Greater Accra.
Now, you're only targeting Greater Accra, or because there are a lot of communities along the coastal region of Ghana, and of course they would also be engaging in polluting the air. So is it just in Accra or you're expanding?
This is going to be our first project and it will be in Accra, but with our network and connections, we hope this could be implemented in different parts of Ghana, as well as different countries around Ghana in Africa. So we'll see. We hope really getting good results with Korle Kloti, and this could be a model that we can implement in different parts of the world as well.
Gentlemen, I'm grateful for spending your time with us this afternoon here on the Pulse and Joy News. Well, and as well, I'm grateful to you for joining us here on the Pulse, wherever you watched us from. Grateful that you could join us. Let's meet again, God willing, tomorrow. On behalf of the team, please, thank you, and do stay tuned to Joy. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace. God willing, we'll meet on Prime at 7.